Did you hear the part where he compared his art to sampling? Like how a DJ uses sampling to create and uses various samples of music for obviously to create a track to create songs. He was doing that to create art. I love that, and also how his work is compared to jazz, and how they're not quiet paintings, but shouting at you paintings, layers and layers and layers of paintings to make that painting, and it's just screaming at you. I think that's a very good way to describe Basquiat's work. The other thing I find very interesting about Basquiat is that after being hit by a car at a young age, his mother gave him a book, Gray's Anatomy, about the human anatomy, and he studied it and he practiced drawing to it. And when I talk about Andy Warhol in the pop art part, you'll see there was a very similar thing that happened to him, which I find very interesting. Both these artists, in a weird way, took that period of healing in their life at a young age to sink deeper into something that would later really help define their art. So I always thought that was a really interesting fact about Jean-Michel Basquiat. Okay, so he was born um, was an American artist of Haitian and Puerto Rican descent. Basquiat's first achieved fame as part of Samo. And Samo was an informal graffiti duo who wrote epigrams in the Lower East Side, specifically New York, in the late 70s. This is, kind of the epicenter of where rap, punk, street art coalesced into this hip hop culture. So this is, again, all this is kind of happening at the same time, the music scene as well as this kind of street art scene that was happening. And this was like ghetto. New York in this area, Lower East Side was just it was derelict. I mean, it was not that darker in a way of like kind of like the Venice streets of like post um, the Pacific Amusement Park that closed down. This was I mean, I used to live in New York in like the mid '90s, and even then, it was scary to go to Lower East Side. So I can't imagine what it was like in the '70s. Um, but by the 1980s, Basquiat's kind of neo-expressionist paintings were suddenly being exhibited in galleries all around the world. The Whitney Museum of America held a retrospective of his art in 1992. Basquiat's art focused on he really had a lot of things to say about the world, America, about wealth versus poverty, integration versus segregation. Just the experiences of being um, kind of like uh, kind of spiritual, but not, definitely more of like, you've got your capitalist version of life, and you've got your kind of more soul based version of life. Definitely one of the few artists who was like kind of trying to go deep. Um, he appropriated poetry, drawing, and painting, and kind of married text and images in a really abstract, but kind of somewhat historical way to talk about things. And things like like race and things that were happening to him personally, but he did it in a way that was not in your face, and he did it in again kind of as poetry. Um, you saw that clip where he would have textbooks lying around, magazines as well as cartoons and movies on, plus music playing, and all that would filter into what was happening. But in a way, it was kind of an in the moment act, but it was also in a way like a history lesson. If I look at a lot of his work, there's actually kind of weird facts about just history, kings and queens and presidents and certain just figures, sports or politicians, and so there's a lot of social commentary in his work that I think is not obvious, but if you go deeper, you can actually see it. So there's a lot. He has a lot he's saying in his work. Um, this was especially true when it came to power structures, and he had a lot of things to say about power structures in America, and specifically what was going on, what he was seeing, witnessing around New York City, which was has always been kind of like a really good microscope on kind of the overall world of America, the overall picture of America in one place. Um, Basquiat died of a heroin overdose um, at his art studio at the age of 27. 27, there's that number again. Remember who else died at 27? Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain. Um, it's really sad that 27 is still like that weird number. On May 18th, 2017, at a Sotheby's auction, a 1982 painting by Basquiat depicting a black skull with red and black um, rivulets called Untitled set a new record high for an American artist at an auction, selling for $110.5 million. Basquiat has inspired many people in the hip hop community, including such people as Jay-Z. Here's a combination of both of that.